Our catechism questions for older kids focus on prayer. So we've gone through the orange section that deals with how can we even know that there is a God? What can we know about him? Once we've established that there is a God, then we can say what we believe about God. And that's what the yellow section is, the articles of the creed, those 12 articles that tell us what we believe about God. Then we moved into the orange section on the sacraments. So we know that there's a God and we can say these things that we believe about God. How do we celebrate that belief publicly, and how do we encounter God in these 7 things that Jesus instituted, these 7 sacraments? We know there's a God. We know what we believe about him. We know how to celebrate him and encounter him. What does he want us to do? How are we supposed to live? What does a follower of this God look like? And so that's the blue section on the commandments and morality and the ethical life. Right? And we just finished that. So now we know that there's a God. We know what we can believe about him. We know how to engage him in the sacraments and celebrate this belief publicly in the liturgy. We know how we're supposed to live. The final section is prayer. How do we live in communion with this God? How do we talk with this God? How do we interact with him? Right? And that's what prayer is. Prayer is the living dialogue with God. A lot of times we hear the word prayer and we think of some boring experience of saying the Hail Mary a bunch of times, saying the Our Father, saying some prayer that we didn't know or didn't like or didn't work with us. That's one type of prayer. There's a bunch of different ways of dividing up prayer, right? But in a certain sense, there are 2 kinds of prayer. There's vocal prayer, which is specific words that we say out loud, and a specific set of vocal prayer are rote prayers. They're memorized prayers. The Glory Be, the Our Father, the Hail Mary, the Act of Contrition, things that you memorize, right? And these are good things for when you don't have words or when you want to pray together with other people, but if I make up a bunch of words, you don't know what I'm saying, so it's hard for you to pray with me, right? But so when words fail or we want to pray together, go to an Our Father, go to a Hail Mary, go to a Glory Be, works really, really well. Or other, you can make up prayers off the top of your head and pray in your own words. Those are vocal prayers. There's also what's called mental prayer, or maybe a better word for it is interior prayer, right? Because it's not always just in my mind. Sometimes it's in my heart. It's prayer that I don't say out loud. Nobody else hears it. It's really just between me and God. And that could involve meditation, thinking about a mystery of the faith, thinking about an aspect of God, thinking about something that happened in my day and where God might be in it. It might involve contemplation, just sitting in the presence of God and listening and being happy and taking in nature or whatever, right? So there's this internal aspect of prayer too. That, for most of us, is going to be far more fruitful, far more often than the vocal prayers. Again, nothing wrong with vocal prayers. They're excellent, especially in certain circumstances. But every day, what God really wants from us is a personal relationship, a personal prayer. Sometimes when I'm praying mental prayers on my own in the mornings, I'm just kind of feeling at God, right? Like, here's this ball of stuff that's going on in my heart, Lord. I don't have words for it. I don't have full sentences. It's not perfect. It's not pretty. It's nothing I could say out loud in front of other people, but here it is, right? And it's yours. And I just kind of sit there. That is itself a prayer. It doesn't take very long. There's no special way to do it. You're never doing it wrong as long as you're doing it. That prayer, that surge of the heart, as St. Therese of Lisieux called it, is what God is looking for from us on a regular basis. There are other ways of praying. We'll dig through some of those as we go through this pillar in the catechism. But ultimately, prayer is just sitting with God, talking to him like a friend, sometimes not even with words, which I'd say is even better than the way we can talk with our friends. So this Lenten season, I want to challenge you, if you're not praying mental prayers every day, you're just doing vocal prayers, try some mental prayer. Try just sitting with God for 5-10 minutes, talking about what excites you about your day, what scares you about your day, what your hopes and dreams are for the future, and all that good stuff, because God wants to hear those things.